Hello and welcome to episode 70 of PauseCast. It is January 25th, 2018. My name is Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Mark Hanna, I use he, him. Welcome.
Welcome. Hey, it's been a week this time, and we haven't had any delays or anything. It's been actually a week.
Yeah,
We're back on schedule.
I'm not on holiday anymore.
Yeah, that's
actually,
kind of like a deciding factor.
Actually, as of a few hours ago, I am on holiday again.
Oh, right.
For my 5-day Monster Hunter World weekend. Yes.
Oh my god, that's right. You did that, didn't you?
I'm so excited. I have the countdown timer until when I can play it up on my screen next to my laptop. So I've got 3 minutes and 57 seconds and 30 seconds. Sorry, 3 hours, 57 seconds and I'm so excited. I can't even say it right. 3 hours, 57 minutes, 22 seconds. God.
All right. Yeah. And then it launches at midnight here, and you get to play it before anybody else in the world, effectively,
right? Well,
which is kind of cool.
I'm pretty excited. I'm probably just going to make my character tonight and then play it in the morning. But I don't know if I've got that much self-control. We'll see.
Okay, so I was going to say, surely you'll do, like, one hunt.
I mean, yeah, probably, and then that one hunt, will turn into one more hunt, and then... I just want to get some equipment.
I was about to say, don't go too hog wild, because you're going to have to go to work, but no, you've got 5 days off.
No, exactly, right? I mean, I can't not sleep for 5 days.
Yeah, no, that would be, I think, irresponsible. There are people who try to do that during, like, AGDQ.
It's a bad idea.
Thing that they talked about, like, there was a little video that was released after GDQ was over this year, and they talked about, like, it was an interview with some of the tech folks, and they were talking about, like, how there's, like, definitely, like, GDQ newbies, and they show up, and they think, I'm gonna, like, sleep forever and forever. I'm going to stay up forever and forever and watch everything. And then on the third day, they passed out on a couch somewhere.
At least they went to sleep, right? That's like...
Oh, yeah, they went to sleep, but, like, the staff want to encourage people to go sleep in their rooms.
Yeah.
So this is PauseCast. It's a show about video games, in case you have never listened to it before.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yes.
You want to kick us off with what you've been playing this week?
I've only played one thing this week, and it was the Monster Hunter World beta.
Oh my goodness.
Which is basically a demo. I'm not a fan of them calling it a beta. They probably are testing some stuff, but it's a demo, effectively, for the players, because you don't bug report stuff. It's a demo, but it's been a lot of fun. So that was the third demo they had. And in this one, they added a new monster, which was the title monster for the game, and gave you 15 minutes to try to beat it, which was stressful as hell. I tried several times and didn't manage it, whereas my flatmate did manage it with a specific strategy using a weapon he doesn't normally like, only on his own. Because if you've got two people going against it, it's got more health. And it turns out we actually had a much easier time killing it quickly, because the time limit was the real factor here, if it was one-on-one. So I got it real close once, because when the monsters are weak, they'll limp away to go sleep. I got to that point with a hammer, but I couldn't kill it. He killed it with a heavy bowgun, but when we tried together, we couldn't get it down enough. But more than that, it was fun to just do the other missions and not really care about the result. Like, I explored the areas a bit. When I was playing with you and Ash on the weekend, we found another monster that I thought... I thought I'd seen all of the new monsters in the demo, but then we found another one, so now I think I saw all the monsters in the demo. But,
yeah, we ran into the Kula Kutku.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the Kutku. It was the Kula Yaku, I think it was.
Yaku. Okay.
The Yayan Kutku is another monster that's been in Monster Hunter since like the first generation. But that was pretty neat. I'm so stoked for this game.
Yeah, it was like the monster that we ran into in particular was like a cool bird dinosaur.
Yeah.
It was really, really nice.
They've had this type called bird wyverns for a while now. I know some people say wyvern, I've always said wyvern, so if you prefer the other pronunciation, just bear with me. But these bird wyverns, they've got like a whole class of them that's that kind of raptor-like stature. They're usually small monsters from near the beginning of the game. This was definitely one of those. And initially, they were just kind of like reskins of each other that had different elements. But they started getting a lot more creative with them. So they had the Great Juggy in Monster Hunter Tri, which would like... It was a slightly different skeleton. It had some different moves. It would like call these little monsters to swarm around it, which was new. At Generations, they had the Great Macau. They're often great something or other because they've got little minion ones that are the not great versions. And that, it like goes up on its tail and kicks you and jumps at you and stuff. Again, new stuff. This one was neat. It's the first monster I've seen... Excuse me. The first monster I've seen in Monster Hunter that uses tools, because it digs up a rock and whacks you with it. Not like throwing you, but actually like holding you and really banging you with it. Which was really neat. It's always cool when they've got a new take on it and, it was visually distinct and all that stuff. They're so good at designing monsters. I just can't get over it. So I'm really stoked to see what stuff they've got in this game. Because I've done my typical thing of just avoiding looking it up so I can see it in game first. Like, I haven't watched trailers since it was like announced and stuff. So yeah, you can probably tell from the fact that I just can't stop talking about it and keep saying how excited I am that I'm pretty excited. I've got 3 hours and 51 minutes and 40 seconds before I can play it.
It's going to be a few of those updates, isn't there?
Maybe.
Okay.
Sorry,
Hey, at least you're honest.
I haven't actually played anything else since then. I've been watching Critical Role and stuff to pass evenings by, just being like, I just gotta make it till Friday, and then I can do it.
You're just gonna. But the thing is, now that you've waited till Friday, the thing that you're going on is what I would describe as a gaming binge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Monday is a holiday here in Auckland. I've also taken.
What? Oh yeah, that's right. Auckland Anniversary. Day.
I've also taken leave on Friday and Tuesday from work, so I've got a 5-day weekend that is going to be dedicated to Monster Hunter World.
Wowza.
Yeah. Luckily, Monster Hunter games have always been ones where I don't just sit still for 6 hours. You get to the point where you need a break, so I don't think I'll burn myself out or anything like that. I've seen hundreds of hours in Monster Hunter games. I don't think I'm going to burn myself out. My flatmate also has a long weekend, and he'll be playing a lot of Monster Hunter, so I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of multiplayer as well. Though I always prefer starting with the single player stuff and just seeing some of that content just on my own. It's a bit more relaxed when you can react to it on your own the first time,
Yeah, I know that like if Ash and I end up getting this, it's probably going to be a situation of like Ash will have like videos and podcasts up and stuff while she does hunts. Mostly because it can be a game that you can put a lot of grind into.
Yeah, and it's totally a game where you could multitask. It's not my style to do that, but I can totally see how it could be done, especially if you're very well equipped, so you're not worried about getting hurt a lot in a single hit or something.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
Speaking of multitasking...
Yes.
I played a bunch of Diablo 3 this week.
Oh, just real quick, we've got a question in the chat.
Yeah. Sure.
I've got it on PS4. I've got Monster Hunter World on PS4. It's also coming out on Xbox. But sorry, go on, Jess.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have played a bunch of Diablo 3 this week.
Nice.
I finished the main story, so I'm up to the Reaper of Souls content.
Cool. What level have you reached?
I think 61.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to start getting new gear.
Yeah, 61 is one of those big steps up.
But, I beat Diablo at level 60.
Cool. Nice. How are you finding the class that you're playing?
I am playing the Crusader, and cool. I've really liked that. It's a lot of area control. I've been kind of building it for. I've got kind of Blessed Hammer, Shield Bash.
I love the Blessed Hammer skill so much. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's really very powerful.
Have you got the Limitless rune?
Limitless rune?
I think that's what's cool. It's the one where when they're hit by the hammer, they can generate a new hammer.
No.
It might be the last one you
I think that might be the level 70
It's so fun.
Rune.
They just... Yeah, it's real cool. I like it. When I played Crusader, I enjoyed that a lot.
I was running with the electric one for a while, and then I switched to the wider area of effect.
The electric one's really nice, yeah.
Diablo's good. It's a good clicker game. It's good for multitasking.
It is. It really is.
Like I during GDQ a couple weeks ago, I had Diablo 3 up while GDQ was up because it was something that I could like play that and have the speedruns on the side. I've had Overwatch League up during that and during Overwatch as well because I'm a monster. I've had a couple streams up. I've been playing PUBG recently. Like I've gotten to the point where I'm confident enough in my skill that if I'm playing PUBG, I know that I know what's up. I know what's good. I know that sound is very important in that game, but I can still hear what's going on in the game well enough that my skill is not overall kind of decaying. I'm top 1% in third person perspective Oceania duos.
What's that? Oceania duos?
Playing with one other person.
Okay, nice. Oh right,
my ranking
sorry.
is
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the top 1%.
I didn't. Yeah. So in this region, playing with duos when you've got two of them, right? Nice.
Yep. And top 4% solos as well. So like I'm doing pretty okay for myself.
Yeah, that's really good.
Even in Overwatch, like I've been using a stat tracker and stuff, and I've found that I'm doing top 1% like performances sort of often. It's kind of scary.
So what do you use to track that stuff?
So PUBG has tracking built in.
Okay.
And then for Overwatch, I use a stat tracker that connects straight to battle.net, and you can use the API to pull out match data.
Right.
So I'm using a service that does that and compares it against all known users. So anyone who's been looked up on the site before.
Okay, so it doesn't have access to the whole user base.
Yeah, it won't have access to the whole user base. You have to like have approved it to a point. But I can look up anyone's kind of statistics.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've been feeling pretty okay about myself.
Yeah.
For video games in a competitive space.
I'd be way too afraid to check that on any game that I enjoy.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's just me though.
Like, Overwatch is a game I very much enjoy, and the reason I end up checking that stuff is because I want to do better at it, and I want to play at a higher level.
And it is inherently a competitive game, whereas the games I enjoy often aren't. So if I were to check something like that to compare myself to other people, I would just pull my enjoyment out of it. But I mean, we've talked about this before about how I don't like competitive games as much.
How do you feel about the Diablo leaderboards?
There are leaderboards. Are there?
There are leaderboards for the seasons.
I never check. I never bother. The seasons for me, I usually play through them with someone else, generally my flatmate, and then it's just a matter of we pick two different classes and then get to level 70 and get the sets and just try to finish the standard seasonal goals, I guess, that it sets for you. And then maybe I'll try to do some of the Slayer goals that unlock after that, and maybe I'll get all of them, maybe I won't. And it becomes my, like, podcast game for a bit. But I never worry about leaderboards or am I doing better than the person playing with or anything like that. Nah.
Yeah. One other thing that I played this week as well that I feel is worth noting. Dishonored, Death of the Outsider.
Oh, cool.
So this is the standalone expansion to Dishonored 2. It is about Billy Lurk, who is a side character in the Dishonored 1 DLC and is a fairly prominent character in Dishonored 2.
Okay.
So
there's quite a time gap between those two, right?
Yeah, I think there's a few years between
Emily
Dishonored 2 and
grows
Death
up,
of
right?
the Outsider.
No, sorry, I meant between the Dishonored 1 DLC and Dishonored 2.
Oh, yes. Yes. The DLCs take place during... they take place during Dishonored 1. So, they're a parallel story that takes place with an assassin that you run into in Dishonored 1.
Yeah.
They also focus on the main antagonist of Dishonored 2, so, like, if you were to play Dishonored 2, I would recommend playing the DLC first for Dishonored 1, because that has some cool lore and story stuff that you might be interested in. Arcane has, like, continued with its trend of just building amazing worlds out. I haven't had a chance to play with the powers yet since I've only done the first mission.
Of course, is
But-
it all new powers?
So there's 3 core powers
Okay.
in this one, rather than the kind of big selection that they had in previous games. So you have one called Foresight, which essentially gives you a free camera. You can move through doors and windows.
Wow.
And you can move through space and kind of plan out your attack. It freezes time during as well and burns down all your mana.
Right.
But it lets you make use of another ability in it called Displace, which is the equivalent of Blink in the previous Dishonored games, or Far Reach if you played as Emily. Except it works anywhere in line of sight, and you can place a marker to it. So when you go to Displace, you can place a marker in the world, and then just kind of leave it there. And then when you want to use it again later, you can place another marker.
And you can go to
that power can be upgraded up to 3.
And you can pick which marker you go to when you use it or something?
Yep, you can pick... it's the one that you're looking at is going to be the one that you'll go to.
Okay. You have to be able to see them.
You have to be able to see it, so you can't displace around a corner.
Okay, I was wondering if it might be like
use
Mark
it
and
too.
Recall from Morrowind.
No, but what you could do is kind of place... You can use Foresight to place up to 3 markers once you get that power upgraded.
And you can use it to skip
and
ahead.
then you could warp, get a kill, warp, get a kill, warp, get a kill, as long as you can see each marker. So you can kind of plan out what would otherwise be a more complicated attack. I haven't had the chance to fully play around with that stuff yet, but it's very cool.
Nice.
Dishonored's worlds continues to just astound and amaze me. This one introduces like a new cult to it, which is it's an outsider worshipping cult. And this being Death of the Outsider,
Kind of relevant.
the protagonist is aiming to kill kind of the source of the cult. She pays a price for it.
I'm not surprised. That often happens when the outsider's involved, doesn't it?
Yeah. There is no mark this time, but you get powers in a kind of different way.
You can leave it at
I
that.
should mention yeah, I can mention one other power that you get.
Okay.
As part of that, though, you can steal people's faces.
Oh.
Like, it creates a void mask.
Do they keep their
of
faces
someone's
as well?
face. Yeah, they keep their face.
Okay. That's
But
less
you
creepy.
can wear their face as if you were them and go through areas you may not otherwise be able to access. Kind of like disguises work in Hitman.
Right.
That is the third and final power, and it's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah. I need to play a bit more of that and get some more thoughts going. But
How much have you put into it so far?
It's so good. I've played the first mission through before I get any of the powers or anything like that.
Okay.
So, before we continue on, I have one news update, and then I have a few questions for you.
Sweet.
Actually, I have 2 news updates before we kind of go on.
Okay.
The first is going to be a game news one, and then the second is going to be a show news one.
Okay.
Game news first. Anthem has been delayed until 2019.
I heard about that.
Unfortunately.
So for all our talk last episode about how excited I was that it was being this year, nah.
Yeah, I kind of saw that coming.
You
I'm
did.
gonna be honest.
I think you said so even when we were recording.
Yeah. So the other deal with that is like BioWare, according to reports, appears to be going all fucking in, quote, on Anthem, and it's kind of a make or break moment for them. There's also rumblings they might be working on another Dragon Age, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I would be interested in seeing what they do after Inquisition.
Dragon Age has always been weird for me because I think they've done a great job with the world. And as much as I've enjoyed I haven't played Dragon Age 2, but I've played the other two. But as much as I've enjoyed them, I haven't stuck with them. And I've got some thoughts as to why, but it's annoying because I do like them, and I would like to play more. I'd like to experience the whole story and more of the world. But I don't know. They've never quite fully clicked for me. I think the combat never really got me excited. And Inquisition felt like it had a lot of, for lack of a better term, kind of MMO-y stuff where it's like, collect 52 iron ore kind of things. That just wore me down. But I'm really annoyed at that because I do think that the Dragon Age setting is really neat.
Also known as Thedas.
Oh, yes, that's right. I'd forgotten that.
That's literally how they came up with the name of their world. It was the Dragon Age setting.
Oh, okay, I had no idea that was the case.
I wasn't joking. That's literally how they named the world.
I mean, it's a good name.
It was the Dragon Age setting is Thedas.
It's a good name. It works.
Yeah, it does work. Yeah, I hope things are going okay at BioWare.
Yeah.
One other thing I heard out of that was that morale is kind of low at the moment at BioWare, largely due to kind of social media blowback to Anthem. Folks being very, very concerned about EA. EA is going to ruin this game because they're EA and they're going to throw a lot of microtransactions in it. So, like, internal morale at BioWare from reports might be a little bit on the low side right now. Which is, it's a huge bummer. Shout out to that team. I hope that they can pull out Anthem. Like, I want that game to be good. I'm not sure about it right now, though.
I mean, I was excited for what I saw when it was shown off at E3. I like BioWare. Yeah. Like, I feel like I trust them. Like, I like the stuff they churn out. Churn's a bad word to use. I like the stuff they produce.
Yes, it is.
Sorry.
Like, I think BioWare's been kind of a mixed bag for me. Like, Dragon Age was pretty good for me to get into. It's certainly not my favorite series, though, but it managed to pull me into fantasy, and that is, like, that in and of itself should say something. Mm-hmm. For those who may not be aware, it's historically very difficult to get me into a fantasy game. Like, I just get very, very tired of fantasy settings very quickly. But yeah, somehow BioWare's always kind of done something special there, so I really hope that they can pull something off with that.
Yeah.
To show news really quickly. Mm-hmm. If you were looking for another way to listen to the show, I have great news for you. All of our episodes, courtesy of our host, are actually up on YouTube now. And all future episodes will be uploaded at the same time as they're uploaded to every other podcatcher, to your iTunes, to your Pocket Cast, to your Overcast, whatever you use. It will be simultaneously uploaded to YouTube. So that's a cool thing that I've discovered we have. Episodes are also coming to Google Play and Spotify. Hang tight on those, but we have submitted them. How cool is that?
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. All right. 2 questions. If you'd like to send us in questions, you can do so by emailing us at pausecastshow@gmail.com. First question. From Worst Dragon. What is the cutest beast race in RPGs? So, like, your kobolds, your kenkus, your non-human or human-adjacent races in an RPG. You have any thoughts on this, Mark? You're the resident tabletop expert.
I mean, my mind doesn't go immediately to tabletop stuff when I ask that question, though. It goes to video games. I don't know. Maybe it's because when I play tabletop, it's typically me running my own game, and I haven't thought very hard at all about if or how they have a place in the world that I've made, because they just haven't come up. Like, they're in the source books. I'm trying to just make a real quick list in my head, though. I think there's the lycanthropes in Golden Sun, were one of the first that I think I encountered. There's a bunch in Zelda, but I can't remember the specifics. Some Final Fantasy games have had them. The Ivalice setting has had the Vera and the Banga, which is like lizard people, and another one I can't remember the name of, which are like pig people. There's obviously the felines in Monster Hunter. I did think of that one first. What else? I mean, I know of stuff like the Animal Crossing things, but I haven't played that. What else? What else is there? I want a list before I start actually trying to decide, because I don't want to miss out on the right one. Do you have any thoughts on this while I try to complete my list?
Yeah, for what it's worth, I think that the Rito in Legend of Zelda, the bird people, I think that's going to be my favorite.
I didn't know what they were called, but
it's gotta be the bird people. Like, the Zora are fine. They're really, there are some very, very nice Zora in Breath of the Wild. And there are some extremely nice Rito. Hello, Cass. You can play your accordion for me any day, my boy. Yeah, the Rito in Legend of Zelda gotta be a favorite. They're also really cute in the Wind Waker. They're not fully birds. They're kind of like human-bird hybrids. More human than bird, and then in Breath of the Wild, they're more bird than human.
So they do show up really commonly, yeah. Because I'm just seeing Owlboy, Armello, Starbound has got bird people and sort of fish aliens.
Bird people are pretty good, as it turns out.
Yeah, no, I thought you'd like the bird people.
I say as a 100% non-biased bird person.
There's actually a very few animal people in Final Fantasy X. They only ever show up as a band, and I don't know if it's the same band multiple times or different bands. But I don't think it's people wearing costumes, because some of them are really small or really tall.
Viera are also cute. I don't know that they strictly count as beast race.
I mean, they're definitely...
But the Viera are very good.
I'd definitely call them animal people, if not beast race. Oh, speaking of beast race, that's the term that's often used in the Elder Scrolls settings for Argonians and Khajiit, isn't it?
I would think so.
Yeah, beast race is what's used for that. Honestly, if we're going for the cute factor, I can't go past cats. I think I'm just going to go with felines from Monster Hunter. I'm looking at Gizmo lying on my bedroom floor asleep, looking real cute just right now as well. So
there it is.
They're ridiculous, but they're cute.
Cats are goofy. Alright. Next question from Husker Fu. Have you ever played something entirely because animal people were in it? Or conversely, have you ever not played something because of a lack of animal people, despite everything else about it being pretty attractive? I mean, I'll answer this one right away. Night in the Woods, I played and was attracted to very, very quickly because it was about animal people. And yeah, I found that game really, really great, by the way. Just so you know, it's really, really great. I think we talked about it a bit last week as well. But it's a really relatable, very queer game, and it's about animal people. It's very good. So I definitely have. The answer is yes for me.
For me, it hasn't really factored in, I don't think. I don't know, it's not something I think that much about. So I haven't played or not played any games because of that, I don't think.
Fair enough. And now to our final question for the week, coming from Ash, who asks, what is your favorite licensed soundtrack for a game?
No, I checked with you before the show that licensed soundtrack here refers to one that's music that already exists that they pulled into the game rather than music produced for the game, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. And so that pops up often in racing games. I think my strongest memory of a licensed soundtrack is Need for Speed Most Wanted, which I played a bunch of it when I was younger. It's like the main Need for Speed game that we had.
It also comes pretty strong for me as well.
Yeah.
I love the Need for Speed Most Wanted soundtrack. And Underground 2, to a point as well.
There was another Need for Speed game?
Yeah, it was another Need for Speed game that has like Riders on. It has the Riders on the Storm
Oh,
remix.
yes,
on
no.
it.
As soon as you say that, it starts in my head. Yeah, no, I must have played that game.
Yeah, no, that it had the Underglow customization. I still miss that as a feature in Need for Speed.
Wait, do they not have that anymore?
loved being able to. No, it's like the most criminal thing. I just want to be able to customize Underglow.
I'm totally not into it in real life, but it was fun in the game. Yeah, no, those are definitely memorable for me. But honestly, I think aside from racing games and Grand Theft Auto always had stuff that plays on their radios. It's like games with a car radio you can listen to have got licensed soundtracks. But also, Prince of Persia Warrior Within had a bunch of licensed music from Disturbed, which is how I discovered them, which I really appreciate. I don't think there's any other music I discovered through a licensed game soundtrack that I went on to listen to outside the game. So I might pick that, actually. Prince of Persia Warrior Within.
I'm gonna pick Dirt 3 as my pick. Like, that game has a wicked strong soundtrack, and almost none of it I had heard beforehand. So it was just, yeah, it was a phenomenal listening experience, and I went and sought out that entire soundtrack afterwards because it's just utterly phenomenal. It got me listening to an artist called Phonat. Got me listening to Atmosphere. Who else is in there? Oh, there's a lot of really good. There's a lot of really good tracks in there. It's very fun to listen to and race to, and like the fact that Dirt 3 has the best replay feature in any racing game that I've ever seen. Like, the cinematography in that game is so on point that I can't not love it.
Nice.
It's much more like interesting and dynamic than I think like other comparable racing games end up being. Most like it's using a lot of dynamic angles and tracking with the car, where most kind of racing games, in the spirit of realism, try to stick with a kind of like static, oh, here's a car turning around the corner and we're going to track it around the corner and then it's going to go off the screen because we can't track it anymore kind of approach. Where Dirt 3 is a lot more like fun and dynamic and brings you through the course. There's overhead shots. It's very different from anything else that I've seen in the space.
It's interesting when I watch replays. I haven't played racing games in a while, but when I watch the replays, I tend to prefer stuff that follows the car much more directly than the cinematic cameras that are often offered. I wonder, because the cinematic ones, I guess they're kind of like they're trying to emulate watching a race on TV, right?
It's actually the inverse. Like, the more realistic ones are trying to emulate what you would see on TV, where the ones that are tracking with it way more, like following alongside the car at an impossibly fast speed.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. When I say cinematic, I mean the ones that are like watching it zoom past.
Those are the more realistic ones.
Yeah. Those ones I tend to avoid. I mean, it sounds like what you're talking about is on that end, but done better, rather than just like, hovering behind the car, following it, like when you're playing it in a third-person mode. But I'm always like, I'm replaying because I want to watch the thing that I saw, rather than, what if I watched this on TV or something?
Yeah.
So I kind of, I rewatch stuff quite differently. Replay stuff is really cool, actually. I'm gonna bring this back to Monster Hunter because I can. I'm really looking forward to being able to use the PlayStation 4's video thing, how it's like recording in the background, and you can say, hey, record the last hour, and I can go and rewatch a hunt, which I've never been able to do before, because I've only played it on handhelds, which never had that, and the Wii, which I don't think ever had anything like that. But it's always like, oh, I wish I could have shown someone this, and now finally I'll be able to, which I'm pretty excited about.
I can send you a few screenshots of the stuff that you get out of the Dirt replays a little bit later, so you can get get what I'm talking about. Got some examples that I've got in mind. All right.
Actually, jumping back to soundtrack stuff, because you pay a lot of attention to this stuff, hey? When we talked about Game of the Year stuff, you brought up best soundtrack, I think it was the first category you brought up. And do you often talk about, you've talked about game soundtracks that you listen to outside the games and stuff. Is there any, I mean, I know we were only asked about licensed soundtrack, but if you take rid of the licensed bit, what would you pick for that? Just in general, overall, what's the best game soundtrack to
I think
you?
my favorite is probably still Alan Wake. For all that I love Nier Automata's soundtrack, and it is fantastic, and I would recommend listening to it. Like, it's kind of hard to beat Alan Wake. It's got a ton of really, really beautiful composition. And that soundtrack is, like, ingrained in me to the point where, like, I can hear, this specific track, and it, like, in my head, I can instantly see the moment it is, I can see the scene, the full scene that is playing out in front of me. It's that kind of,
that's fantastic.
That kind of soundtrack. Like,
I love having that sort of relationship to a set of music when it brings those memories right back. When a game can manage that, that's so good.
Assassin's Creed 3 also has kind of that same feeling for me. That's probably my favorite of the Assassin's Creed soundtrack.
I think if a game that would have this, like, the strongest association between those two actually, I don't know about the strongest. I can't pick the best. But I really want to mention Final Fantasy Crisis Core, the PSP game that was a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. I think it's just called Crisis Core, actually. That game I thought had a really good soundtrack. It's not one I listen to outside the game because I got really emotionally attached to the story and I don't want to be, like, crying at work listening to the soundtrack. But it was really good, and there are some, like, I have accidentally sometimes had it come on my phone just because it was on the music there, and I'd always skip it, but, like, I'd be driving and I couldn't skip it. It's like, no, I don't want to listen to the end boss fight music. I can't drive while I'm crying this hard. It was really good. Honestly, a lot of the games that I find the music most memorable from just happen to be Final Fantasy games. 10 was really good as well as 7. Those are my favourite two by far. And Crisis Core just did really well with that. And I'm going to bring this back to Monster Hunter again. They've been doing better and better as they go on at having, like, unique tracks for each monster you're fighting. I'm actually kind of frustrated that me and my D&D players are all really familiar with Monster Hunter, because if we weren't, it would be, like, really good, memorable, unique combat music to use. But if I use it now, they'd be like, oh, we're fighting a such and such, so I can't.
Yeah. You made me also think about a really, really fun use of, like, other games' music cues. One of the Adventure Zone's live shows used several music cues from Persona 4. Which, like, they were doing, like, a high school AU episode, so it was fitting on theme, and it was really great to hear those music cues, because they're very iconic, and they evoke certain places, and so using them to evoke similar themes and slightly different places I felt very clever. I feel like that's worth pointing out.
Yeah, nice. It's cool when games will let things like that use their soundtrack. Like, I mentioned Critical Role a couple of weeks ago, and they've been allowed to use soundtrack from Shadow of War and from Witcher in their streams, which is pretty sweet.
Nice. This is a good soundtrack discussion. What would you like to move on to next? Do you have anything you want to bring up?
It's 3 hours and 19 minutes and 15 seconds until I can play Monster Hunter World.
Terrific.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like, there's one thought in my head right now.
And it's just monsters.
It's just Monster Hunter, yeah.
When can I get at those monsters?
Well, how do you mean?
How about this?
Okay.
What's your favorite monster design in games? Is it just Monster Hunter?
Oh, they're so good at it, honestly.
They really
are.
Like they designed the whole ecology around it, and
yeah, it's
really great.
It's really good. Like, when I'm trying to think up stuff to put in my D&D game, I prefer thinking up stuff that I can just sort of base the stats on something in the source books rather than pulling directly from the source books. Partly because my players have run their own games and they're familiar with, like, the monster manual for D&D and stuff. And I would love to come up with something as unique and memorable as any monster from Monster Hunter. I mean, early on, it was a lot more like, oh, this monster is a dragon, and these two are color swaps and stuff. They've gotten a lot better, and they've sort of redone some of those iconic monsters. They've gone on to make them a bit less like generic fantasy type. Like in the first game, I think they had the Fatalis, which is a generic long dragon, and they've had the Rathalos and the Raytheon, which are red and green wyverns, which got a revamp when Tri came around to make them a bit more stand out a bit more. Like they got really bold patterns on their wings and stuff. Damn it! I just lost my train of thought when I'm just gushing about Monster Hunter monster design. You're saying what's my favorite one? Was that the question?
Yeah, favorite
monster in general.
What game does your favorite monster design?
I'm trying to think if there will be one outside of Monster Hunter or not. Which is hard because that is where my mind is at. Oh, actually, Sin from Final Fantasy X I thought was really cool. The concept of it as well as just the visual design. I don't want to go too much into that because it will spoil a bunch of story stuff. But the very gist of it is it's a huge monster that basically has been around as long as anyone can remember, and when it shows up, it just destroys everything and seems to be attracted to large groups of people. And you've got that kind of fear around it. It leaves smaller monsters in its wake, and then it's tied into the world in really interesting ways that get revealed through the story. And it looks kind of like a giant whale. Kind of. But that was really cool. Monster Hunter has some really nice ones, like the Zenoga, which is kind of like a big lightning wolf monster, I guess. The Mizutsune came out in Monster Hunter Generations, which is kind of like a dishwasher fox, if I had to describe it in 2 words.
Okay.
It's like a dishbrush fox, but it's really cool. They've got a lot of really varied monster design. They've got like a set of different skeletons still hanging things on, and you seem to recognize that. But it works really well because it's like these monsters are related to each other, and they get this whole tied together ecology thing going, which they're leaning into much more heavily now in Monster Hunter World. It's just they've done a really good job of not just independent monster designs, but as a whole it fits together quite well. I'm just gushing, aren't I?
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's fine, though.
Do you have an answer in mind for this question?
Yeah, I do. I want to shout out to a few things. There's a few games that I can think of offhand that have some really great monster design. And maybe for like less interesting reasons than something like Monster Hunter, where like those monsters are really like gorgeous and like regal, and like they don't tend to be monstrous in the same way that the monsters of Dead Space and The Evil Within and Bloodborne all are.
I can see a Devil Joe showing up in Dark Souls.
Yeah, a Devil Joe could totally show up as like an enemy in Dark Souls. Dark Souls has some really great monster design too. But I think All Out, my favorite monster design is probably going to go to Bayonetta.
Yeah?
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to give it to Bayonetta. Mostly because I am a huge, huge fan of how much they made all of the angels in that game look completely monstrous. Because that's accurate. I'm
Googling
it. I think I've talked about this beforehand, or before on the show, but like Bayonetta pays a lot of respect to biblical lore in a way that games don't tend to do. If you know anything about biblical lore, angels are kind of described as like weird, multi-faced monstrosities a lot of the time. Like they're kind of terrifying is kind of what angels tend to be. And so Bayonetta very much runs in this vein of design by making its angels very, very unsettling and weird and multi-faced and like adherent to how the Bible describes them. Like even no longer having the Christian faith, like, I still have a lot of respect for biblical lore, and it's made Bayonetta and Darksiders, both as franchises, stand out to me quite a bit more, because those games both pay a lot of respect to biblical lore and reference it often. The plot of Darksiders is about the seals of the apocalypse being broken. That stuff is really, really fascinating to me.
You've reminded me as well, just in talking about that, of Devil May Cry 4, where they had angel enemies, which were basically demons that looked like angels, kind of. And there was one boss in particular that was quite neat. It had horns that, like, came together as though they were going to be a full circle, but there was a gap, so it's like a halo set of demonic horns kind of thing, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Destiny has some okay monsters as well, but they tend to be on like the much smaller scale.
Actually, Magic the Gathering often has some pretty neat design in its cards. The card game. My brother and my cousin both got real into it, so I saw a bunch of cards when I was playing with my brother over the summer.
Nice. All right. Shall we wrap up? Maybe? Or
sure.
Do you have anything else that you want to... Anything else you want to bring?
I mean, you know the answer to that.
Is it just going to be another Monster Hunter update?
Sorry. I mean, I've got 3 hours and 11 minutes and 47 seconds.
There you go. There it is.
So what are you looking forward to playing this week?
I am looking forward to... I know what you're looking forward to, first and foremost. It's Monster Hunter World.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I'm looking forward to playing... I think it's just going to be Dishonored: Death of the Outsider is going to be my big one this week, and maybe Yakuza 0.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's a good game to be putting more time into.
Do you think you'll try to get up to level 70 in Diablo as well?
I think I will at some point. Yeah. It probably won't be too long off. Like I've got a boatload of podcasts to get caught up on, so I'll probably finish getting up to level 70 on my Crusader, and maybe put a little bit more time into my seasonal.
Oh, is your Crusader not the seasonal character?
No, the Crusaders. The Crusader I was running the story with, and then I have a.
Oh, you can do the story in seasonal.
Yeah, I know, but I have a seasonal Demon Hunter that I've been using either way.
Okay, what level are they
at? 40.
Okay, cool. I didn't realize you had 2.
Yeah, I did a little power leveling for my friend at one point when they wanted to spin up their seasonal. That was fun. It's a very different experience. You if you like. I'll think about it. I will think about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. All right. That's going to do it for us this week on PauseCast. Thank you so much for listening. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
The audio cue is just going to finish playing up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're clear.
Sweet.
I'll stop my record. All right. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of PauseCast. If you liked what you heard and want to find us elsewhere, there's a few ways you can do that. First way you can find us is you can go to Twitter and go to @PauseCastShow and follow that account. If you'd like to support our show financially, you can do so by going to patreon.com/PauseCastShow. Thank you to all of our patrons: Sammy, Mary, Para, Aldodrain, Noah Holmes, Residoke, Ash Yee, Laminated Moth, and PD for their continuing support of the show. Thank you so much. We're also on iTunes and any other podcatcher you can imagine. If your podcatcher of choice allows you to rate and review the show, maybe consider doing that. We would really appreciate it. All of our episodes are now available on YouTube. We have a playlist that has all of the episodes in order, including all of the old ones. You can find that and I'm going to make this bit.ly, so if you're listening live, this won't work quite yet. If you want to find us on YouTube, you can find us at bit.ly/PauseCastYT, and that will take you straight to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to it there. We need 100 subscribers before we can get a custom URL for it, so we gotta get up there. Mark, where can people find you online? Excellent. And you can find me on Twitter at bird.school. You can find me streaming every week at maximumgun.org or live.bird.school. You can also find the show streamed live on Twitch every week, Thursday at 8 p.m. New Zealand time, and that is at live.bird.school as well. Thank you as well to our patrons for supporting the show, by the way. I'm going to take a second here, and I'm going to allow myself to cut this and put it a little bit later, a little bit earlier when I mention the Patreon. Let's see. Thank you to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island. You can find Leon's music and download some of it for free at soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. All right, that's going to do it for us this week on PauseCast. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.